Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
What happens when someone who constantly preaches about race and reparations is suddenly confronted with a shocking revelation about their own ancestry? Well, that's exactly what happened to Sunny Hostin, the fiery co-host of The View, when she appeared on PBS's Finding Your Roots. What unfolded next was so ironic, you'd swear it was scripted.
I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living.
I was talking about my maternal grandmother.
You know, they did mine too, and I found that it's very sad what people had to go through to get there.
Horrible.
You'll find out when you go back like that.
I had no idea that my grandmother had suffered.
But the real kicker came when Greg Gutfeld delivered a scathing and hilariously brutal takedown of her hypocrisy that had viewers in stitches. Trust me, this one's a ride you don't want to miss. So, here's the story. Sunny Hostin, known for her outspoken views on race, inequality, and reparations, decided to explore her family tree on Finding Your Roots. You'd think someone as vocal as Sunny would already have a pretty solid grasp on her ancestry, right? Well, turns out, she had no idea what was lurking in her family history. When the results were revealed, Sunny learned something that left her visibly uncomfortable, sending shockwaves across social media. It wasn't just that her ancestors were immigrants or poor laborers. No, it was much more complicated than that. Turns out, some of Sunny's ancestors were slave owners.
Who I think is truly the nastiest woman on television and a genuine racist and not that bright, despite her law degree and everything else. She found out a little bit, you know, these TV shows where they tell you a little bit about your family history and your ancestry. She found out some stuff about her ancestors that, well, take a look.
You could feel the air in the room go still as Sunny sat there, wide-eyed and speechless, trying to absorb this information. She stammered, "I always thought of myself as Puerto Rican. I didn't think my family was originally from Spain or slaveholders." Cue the awkward silence. She tried to recover, muttering something about how this discovery would be interesting for her kids to know. But by then, the damage was done. Imagine being someone who spent years lecturing others about racial injustice and reparations, only to find out that your own family played a direct role in the very history you condemn.
Gad, her genealogy test came back negative. Yeah, she's related to slaveholders. What are we gonna do? Should Whoopi flog her on the show? Sit on her? What do we do? What do we do?
The irony was undeniable. Naturally, Greg Gutfeld wasted no time taking aim at the situation. He opened with a classic zinger. Sunny Hostin? Slave-owning ancestors? This is like finding out a vegan secretly owns a barbecue joint. The audience erupted in laughter as Greg tore into the layers of hypocrisy surrounding Sunny's usual stance on reparations. Sunny loves to lecture everyone about reparations, he said. Well, guess what? She might need to start writing some checks herself. Greg didn't stop there. He went on to highlight how Sunny regularly weaponizes race in almost every conversation, calling out others for their past actions, but now the tables had turned. Imagine the next time Sunny tries to pull the race card on The View, Greg quipped. Someone's going to remind her, at least we're not slave owner racist. That's a burn that doesn't heal.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
But Greg wasn't just making jokes. He was making a serious point. He pointed out Sunny's complete lack of reflection on the discovery. She didn't even attempt to acknowledge her hypocrisy or offer an apology for her own family's history. Instead, she brushed it off like it was just another fact of life with a nonchalant shrug. Greg called it out, saying, "Can you imagine if it were anyone else?" One of his co-hosts chimed in. If you're going to spend your entire career shaming others for their history, maybe take a moment to acknowledge your own. Another co-host jokingly added, "So now we understand why Sunny always makes Whoopi get the coffee."
On the record, to let everyone know that I am very much against slavery.
Okay, good.
Very brave to say that on this panel. Karma, definitely. I mean, it's one thing. It's going to be so awkward on, new episodes of The View when she tries to pull the race card.
Yes.
And then she's like, America is racist. And then they're like, yeah, they might be racist, but they're not like slave owner racist. like somebody that we...
That's so true.
She could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing. One thing, and I would have even actually not give her any is she said, well, I guess that's just what they did back then.
Yeah.
She should have followed that up with saying something along the lines of, and I understand that that's a departure from the way I've talked about this before. That was to me, the one thing that was missing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's okay, now that you have this information, have you had any personal growth? Do you think about things differently? You have to acknowledge that.
If she is shaming descendants of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
Well, now we understand why she always makes Whoopi get the coffee.
True.
But you think about things that she said and how offensive they are.
Yeah.
Well, karma.
Yeah, it is karma.
What really struck a nerve with Greg and his panel, though, was Sunny's inability to show any personal growth or introspection. As one of the panelists pointed out, Sunny could have at least said something like, I understand this is a departure from my usual stance, and this discovery has made me think differently. But no, there was none of that. Instead, she just shrugged it off and moved on. No self-awareness, no acknowledgement of her own hypocrisy. Greg then pivoted to a broader commentary about identity politics, saying, this is what happens when you focus so much on race that you lose sight of the individual, the context, the nuance, and eventually it backfires. He noted that the focus on identity politics, while important in some contexts, can also blind people to the complexities of history and the importance of personal responsibility. At the end of the day, Greg said, it's not about your ancestors or your skin color. It's about what you do today. The reaction from social media was swift and unforgiving. Viewers were quick to point out the poetic justice in this whole situation. One user wrote, Sunny Hostin learning her family were slave owners is the plot twist of the year. Karma works fast. Another added, maybe now she'll think twice before making sweeping judgments about other people's history. And of course, the meme machine went into overdrive. One of the most popular memes featured a photo of Sunny with the caption, reparations? Let me write that check to myself real quick. Greg wrapped up the whole saga with a final mic drop moment. This isn't just about Sunny Hostin, he said. It's about the dangers of identity politics. When you spend your life looking for racism everywhere, eventually it finds you. And for Sunny, it was sitting right there in her family tree. So, what do you think? Is this the ultimate case of karma, or should Sunny get a pass for not knowing her ancestry? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is it time for some accountability, or does this revelation not change anything? Either way, this is a moment that'll have people talking for a long time.